Chapter presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers.
Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases, MotleyRice.com. Driven by our friends and yours over at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com and find us on the JB and Goldwater app. Download that. Make sure you got it. You have all the available options to make sure that you can watch and listen to our program daily. And you can head to jbandgoldwatershow.com as well. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare chat lines are open and active early at 12:02 on a beautiful Monday. Share Healthcare is where you can find affordable, user-friendly, and have more options type healthcare. Yeah, it's good for everybody, as low as $149 a month. So if you want to save some dough and you need to be covered, make sure you head to sharehealthcare.com. Send those notes, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, text it, 843-321-8893. And Darren will make sure that we get you into the program, just like we're going to get Perry Orth, Wes Mitchell, and Gene Sapakoff into our program in succession starting at 12:30 this afternoon. The former quarterback in Columbia, he will evaluate both QBs that played this weekend for South Carolina and that 1-point squeak it out victory over Vanderbilt. Zeb Nolan saves the day. We all know the story. We're going to talk to him about that and much more. Wes Mitchell will give us a different perspective at the game and look ahead to this weekend's matchup in College Station. Gene Sapakoff has Clemson on the docket, has Carolina on the docket. We've got baseball to get to. The Braves, they have just walked their way off and into L.A. with a 2-0 series lead in the National League Championship Series. So much happened this weekend in college football. It was a great sports weekend. Let's just put it that way. Not to mention the beautiful weather that is now in place. It actually feels like fall here in the Palmetto State. Without further ado, good afternoon, Darren Goldwater. How are you, my friend?
I'm wearing jeans. I'm awesome. I mean, the weather is good, man. So I said at the end of last week's show, nothing that I saw this weekend would surprise me more than if the Braves were to beat the Dodgers in the series. I'm holding to that, but I don't know what's going to happen here. I've got a nugget for you. 4 times a team has lost the first 2 games of a series on a walk-off. Only once has a team lost the first 2 games on a walk-off and come back to win the series. The 1981 Dodgers did that against the Astros. Let me tell you who's on the Dodgers team. Dusty Baker, Steve Garvey, Davey Lopes, Mike Scioscia, Dave Stewart, Fernando Valenzuela. They did it.
81.
You're
so 40 years. 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, man. I mean, you gotta just tip your cap to the game of baseball. I mean, I tweeted earlier today that that there's just nothing like the postseason. There really isn't. And Darren, hey man, less than 2 weeks ago, we sat right here and we said, hey, look, you've got the best teams in baseball and you've got the hottest teams in baseball in the playoffs. And it doesn't always work out that way. But this year it did. And generally that makes for a pretty good postseason. And look where we are. I mean, it's just amazing. The Braves, just Truist Park, the fans, the atmosphere, regardless of what Bill Plaschke says out there in LA. He's just trying to stir up stuff. Don't respond to him. Just amazing for Atlanta. So, but last year they were up 3-1, and they had 3 games to win 1. Now this year they've got 5 games to win 2, and so it has happened before.
They were up 2-0 last year. Also, it was 2-0 and 3-1.
Right. So I mean, this thing, I don't know they're going to lose a game or 2 in LA. That would be my hunch. But they're feeling it too, and sometimes it takes you getting there in that moment, like they did last year, and you learn from it. And this year, all the adversity they went through, with all the injuries and things like that, and a lot of folks kind of wrote them off as the postseason approached because of what was out west specifically. And Brewers pitching, Cardinals were hot, things like that. It's just not that the Braves were forgotten about, but I just don't know that a lot of folks thought that that they'd be here where they are right now. But sometimes you just get a little bit of magic in you, and right now they've got all the mojo in the world. And guys, there is a very real possibility there could be a Boston Red Sox Atlanta Braves World Series, like a very real possibility. And I think that would be just tremendous for this sport.
If you're the Braves and the Braves fans, you don't care who's in the World Series as long as the Braves are in it, because it'll be awesome for the Braves. And either way, it'll be a good team. But yeah, it'll look good, the Braves and the Red Sox. The sport itself, TV-wise, they need the Dodgers. But the Dodgers are in a really bad spot right now.
Yeah.
Like I said before, it's not easy to come back from 2-0 down. It's only happened twice in the NL. Not counting the World Series, happened twice in the NL, twice in the AL. Dodgers obviously did it once. We'll see, right?
Yeah.
I mean, odds are you drop a game in LA, but you are feeling it, and that's part of the magic. That's part of what you get to enjoy about the postseason. The fact that Freddie Freeman, too, I tweeted this last night, 7 straight strikeouts since his walk-off. Like, how does that happen? How does that happen to a guy like Freddie Freeman, let alone how does that happen? And then the Braves still find a way to win. I mean, there's something.
Baseball.
There's something.
Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, man. It's the most unexplainable sport out there. I mean, it's just remarkable. It's and they're going to need Freddie to win this series, and he'll bounce back. Right now, it's all between the ears. It has nothing to do, as we all know, with his talent or anything like that. It's all mental for him right now. But they've already set the pitching matchup for tomorrow night. This is a 5:00. Well, tomorrow afternoon in Atlanta. It's in LA. It's a 5:08 first pitch. Charlie Morton and Walker Buehler, Ferris's brother, will be on the bump tomorrow in that one. Tonight is Game 3 between the Astros and the Red Sox. Jose Urquidy for Houston and Eduardo Rodriguez for the Red Sox. Whoever wins that will go up 2-1 in this series. But the magic in Atlanta is right now, it's real. And looking forward to talking to Gene Sapakoff about that coming up later on in the next hour. All right, let me get to the chat lines here, and let's get you going on into some football. We know that's what a lot of you really, truly want to get to, even though we all have been just mesmerized by what's happening over there in Atlanta. Good afternoon, Paul. You're right. Clemson and South Carolina both with ugly wins, but they were wins, which is better than the contrary. Let's see. Craig, is there anything to talk about today? Nope. Adam, great morning, Braves country. You got that right, Scooter. Let's see. Aaron, good to see you, my man. Thank you so much for always being with us. David, I'm not going nuts. I've seen this before, but it's certainly pretty neat to see what's happening over there right now. Clint, we're good. I hope you're well. Hope you're doing well as well. And then Aaron, Papa Zeb is just our guy. Luke has obviously been way more hurt than has been portrayed. We're going to get to that here in just a minute, and there's a bunch more stuff going on here. So yeah, we'll start with the Gamecocks, and we do have Perry Orth coming up, and we do have Wes Mitchell coming up as well. So there's going to be a lot on it today. It was a win. It was I was sitting there in the ballpark that night, just wow, kind of banging your head against the wall, wondering what on planet Earth was going on out there. To the comment that Luke was more hurt than led on, I don't know. I don't know. The only thing that I do know is that in the game he kind of re-aggravated himself a little bit, is what they're saying, and they had to get him out of there. I personally never really saw him hobbling around or anything like that on the field. That doesn't mean that something wasn't wrong either. So here's what we do know. Zeb Nolan came in. Vandy went into basically a prevent defense, and he picked him apart right on down the field and into the end zone. And South Carolina was able to win the game after a pretty ugly performance, a couple of bad picks and some bad fumbles and some stupid penalties, a couple of mental lapses on defense. Outside of that, the defense played pretty well. Bad snap to Parker White. They missed the field goal, couldn't get the hold down. So it was a bad night. And but it was a good night because they won. The 100th all-time win in the SEC for South Carolina. You do the math, that should pretty much tell you how many games a year they win, which in 30 years hadn't been much. And Darren, at the end of the day, if you're a South Carolina fan, I think that you need to come back to one little nugget here. It's a hell of a lot better to be 4-3 with a 1-point win over measly Vanderbilt than it is to be 3-4 with a 6-point loss to measly Vanderbilt. In saying that, we all, at least if you're a fan of South Carolina, week to week, you're looking for encouraging signs that there's improvement and that there's enough improvement to get another couple of wins on the board, wins that you probably aren't expected to have, which, looking at the rest of the schedule, they're not going to be expected to win any of those ball games at this point in time. And when you walk out of the stadium the other night, those signs they're just not there. So, one of the rallying cries now is going to be around Zeb Nolan. And we're going to talk a lot about this because if you're South Carolina, things change now with him in the game. What you saw in that drive, as exciting as it was, that is not what you're going to see starting from the first snap in College Station on Saturday night. They're going to come right after him, and they're going to go get him. So hopefully the offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield, who's had his struggles, is going to figure out a way this week to be able to get around that. But, again, looking for encouraging signs. There aren't a lot of encouraging signs in that department either. I'm not trying to be a negative Nelly on a Monday. They won this weekend, and Carolina people should be happy about it. But if you're looking for reasons to be optimistic about maybe going bowling in Shane Beamer's first year, it's going to have to be a I'll believe it when I see it type thing right now because a lot of the signs just aren't there still.
Unfortunately, this is kind of what I said Friday at the end of the big Gamecock preview show when we picked the game. I had said during the week that watching the second half of the Tennessee game had a feeling in me of maybe they're turning the corner. But then by Friday, my feeling was, you know what? This is going to be a win, a close win, an ugly one, and there's going to be more questions, some of the same questions. I didn't expect the Doty Zeb question, but here we are. And it's kind of what I've been saying for 3 weeks, right? They are who they are. I need to start keeping my mantra when I talk about Clemson because they are who they are also.
Yeah, they are.
Like that. Yeah. I'm done with the, we're going to turn it around this week. We're going to get to that at some point.
It's not there. We're about to, yeah.
No, it's not there. And it's not there for the Gamecocks. And you're dead on. That last drive was scintillating. Vanderbilt was rushing like 3 and dropping everybody. It was, they're going to come after him. And then what's going to happen? And you won. That's what matters. You're right. It's better to be 4-3. It really, really would have hurt to lose to Vanderbilt. At least there's that cushion of,
boy.
At least we didn't lose to Vanderbilt, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Oh God, Darren, that would have. You don't even want to. I'm not even going to put myself in the headspace to try to imagine what the future would be like from the outside looking in had they lost. I did. So Doug Adams, who is the statistician for the Gamecock Radio Network, did tweet out a really interesting stat. I maybe there's something to this. I don't know, but this is something he came up with. First year Gamecock head coach versus Vanderbilt since 1994, meaning the first game that they have coached against the Commodores. 1994, Brad Scott won the game at Vanderbilt, who wasn't very good. Of course, South Carolina wasn't very good either, but they won the game 19-16. 1999, Coach Holtz's first year, they lost. They lost every game that year. They lost the game 11-10. Steve Spurrier's first season in 05, folks, was just a 7-point victory, 35 to 28 at home. Sean Elliott took over in 2015 for Coach Spurrier, and he won the game 19 to 10. That was his only win as the interim head coach of the Gamecocks. Will Muschamp, if you remember, his first game as coach at South Carolina was against Vanderbilt, and they squeaked it out up in Nashville 13 to 10. That was an Elliott Fry field goal there with about a minute 28 seconds to go to give them the win. And then Beamers yesterday by 1 point. And so they've all been really close. And you know, here's the thing. Like, I think I like to think, regardless of what some people probably say, that we call a spade around here. And here's a spade for you. Vanderbilt's not good. Like, they're not good. Period. The end. There is no well, but no. There is no well, but they suck. Okay. Carolina.
They play with their backup quarterback too.
And Carolina is better, but they ain't much better.
Right.
So they have better. The Gamecocks have better athletes. They have a better football team as far as the players go, but offensively they're not well coached, and they continue to make too many mistakes. So, you know, like you just said, you know, you are who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And with Perry coming up, we're going to get into a lot of that, specifics included with the quarterback situation, and maybe some things that we should be watching for now with Zeb Nolan at quarterback. At Clemson, DJ Uiagalelei is at quarterback. And he's a guy who had so many expectations coming into the season, a preseason Heisman favorite, a Dr. Pepper commercial spokesman, and he's not getting it done. And Clemson's not getting it done up front. They're bad. They have struggled, the guys who have been in there. They've had a ton of injuries. They've had guys quit on them like Lynn J. Dixon. I think Tony Elliott has been struggling to find his – look, I've watched every Clemson game too. There's a lot of similarities between South Carolina and the Tigers, believe it or not. It's crazy to say that. Now, I think Tony Elliott is far and away a better offensive coordinator than Marcus Satterfield is. But for whatever reason, a lot of these things, they're not necessarily clicking over there. And the Tigers, Darren, like you said, they are who they are. And for the first time in a while, they're really not that good. And they got Pittsburgh coming up this weekend. And not only might they lose against the Panthers, it might be ugly. It might be, they're 3-point dogs. And when I say ugly, I don't think they're going to lose by 4 touchdowns or anything like that. But like, it might be an ugly game, and it just might be an ugly loss. And Clemson will be sitting there at 4-3.
I think, yes, number one, the similarities are striking in terms of the storylines, in terms of the offensive line struggling, in terms of the inconsistency, in terms of the play calling, the griping about Tony Elliott, the griping about Marcus Satterfield. They're very similar. I think the biggest difference, with Clemson, it mostly starts with DJ. DJ isn't, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know what's wrong, but it's been this way all year. He's not comfortable in the pocket. He looks like he is unsure of himself. Truth be told, Everett and I are watching the game as we're calling the high school game. We have, a phone set up. So I'm not like paying complete attention to it, but we're following what's going on. And then I was able to watch about the last 10 minutes because the high school game was quick. And as I'm driving away from the high school game, I'm listening as DJ throws a pass over someone's head, and it hits a cheerleader in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And Don Munson, Don couldn't control himself. He laughed. He's like, that just hit a cheerleader. And the chuckle in his voice was so obviously, like, can it get any worse? Like, what else is going to happen? Because that's what's happening with them. They're hard to watch. Their defense is ridiculously good, but they can't keep saving them all day because here comes Pittsburgh, like you said. They are who they are. It's been a long time since they've been an underdog in an ACC game, a long time, and it's deserved.
Well, and the thing, you're right. Clemson's defense is, I would still consider them elite. And, elite this weekend might hold Pittsburgh. They're at Pittsburgh, for whoever asked that question. Might hold Pittsburgh to, say, 21, 24 points because Pittsburgh can score, which is so different. Like if you are thinking like Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, this isn't yesteryear's Pittsburgh. I mean, this is 2021 Pittsburgh. The numbers they put on the board this year, 51, 41, 41, 77, 52. And then this weekend at Virginia Tech, 28. But they held the Hokies to just 7 points. Like, they're for real right now in the ACC. Matter of fact, they might be the best team in the ACC. And so if you hold Pittsburgh to 21 or 24 points, that's pretty good. Can you score 21 or 24 points? I mean, it's the same problem that South Carolina has. And I don't think they can. So if something fluky happens, something weird, you lose. And then you look down the line on top of that, Darren, they're going to beat UConn and they're going to beat Florida State, I believe, even though Florida State seemingly is starting to get it together.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit there, and the only one I'm going to give them is UConn.
Yeah, I mean, look, when I say this, I say there is a half chuckle when I say this because I know how, from an X's and O's standpoint, I know what people are going to do to South Carolina the rest of the year, especially if Zeb Nolan has to play more. And if Luke's in there on a hobbled foot, they're going to do the same thing. But Clemson can lose to Pittsburgh. You mentioned Florida State. They can absolutely lose at Louisville. They absolutely can lose against Wake Forest at home. And they can lose in Columbia against the Gamecocks. As bad as South Carolina has been on offense, Clemson's got their own issues. And, with these rivalry games at the end of the year, sometimes you just don't know. And so, yeah, I mean, this is a Tigers team who, believe it or not, could miss bowl season. Now, do I think they will? No, I don't. I think that they will be bowling. But it's so strange to say that this team, they've been in the playoff every year, and it's so strange to sit here and think they might not win 6 games.
Yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild to think that. When Penn State played Iowa in 2000, what was this? 4. The score was 6-4. That could be the score in the South Carolina Clemson game, because I was joking with 2 of our good friends this weekend. I was like, score? What do you mean the score of that? There's not going to be a score in that game unless the defense scores. That's the way it feels right now. The Clemson numbers, you retweeted something about this, and then there was a follow-up to it as well. It's the fewest points scored against the Power 5 in your first 5 games against them. Yeah. Clemson's got 67 points scored in their first 5 games against FBS opponents. That is the 4th fewest. Yeah, FBS, not Power 5. My bad. 4th fewest points scored through 5 games against FBS opponents in the playoff era since we went to the playoff. The other teams in that, BC, Rutgers, Kansas, they all finished with losing records and had losing records at the time. Clemson somehow is winning for now. Yeah,
on defense, and that was a stat put out by David Hale, who I didn't feel the need to go cross check that information with David Hale. So yeah, it's a startling statistic for a Clemson program that is supposedly elite, much like LSU, who is parting ways with Ed Orgeron at the end of the season. Darren, I don't understand that. If a guy's retiring, yeah, you let him ride it out. You take a trip around the sun, you let him wave his wave and tip his cap to everybody and things like that. They're firing Ed Orgeron, and they're basically saying, we're going to fire you, but we're going to let you finish the season out. Why? You know what I mean? I don't know. This has been apparently going on for a while. There's a report out there yesterday that he's had multiple girlfriends. Again, I don't know how much of this is true, but these are the things that come out when stuff like this happens. All the garbage and all the trash that follows with it. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But if it is true, you probably need to dig a little bit deeper and figure out whether this was truly a distraction or not. But he's had multiple girlfriends. Some of them have brought their children out there and let them participate in different drills with the players and things like that. I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily a problem unless it's a problem. I mean, Shane Beamer's family and all of his coaches and their family, they got players, kids around players all the time. Are they out there running tackling drills? Probably not. But So I'm just saying that's just an example of some of the information that's just going to start to come out. In addition to all the real problems that were actually there, which is why he's actually being fired. So it's still, though, on premise, when you think about it, Darren, it's unprecedented. The guy won the national championship with arguably the greatest college football team in history. And if it's not, it's probably certainly a top 5, top 10 team.
It's one of them.
And 17 games later, he is fired after a win this weekend, which meant it didn't matter whether he won or lost that game. He was going to be out no matter what.
I've brought this up a couple of times. I even said last week, I didn't expect it was going to happen this weekend. But I even said, look, if somehow, some way they find a way to win that game, it doesn't matter. He's going to be fired. I'm with you. The only puzzling part about this is the fact that they're going to let him finish out. That's it. The fact that it happened is not surprising at all, although, like I said, I didn't quite see it happening right now, but I think it was obvious that it was going to happen. I bring up Josh Pate a lot. Oh, by the way, he's going to be on Wednesday's show, so he can talk a little bit more about this. He can talk about SEC officiating and everything else, because Josh Pate is awesome. So Josh has been on this for a long time, and he's been discussing this on at least one show per week, if not multiple shows of his per week, the situation at LSU and how bad it is for the players and the distaste. And there's not been any mention, at least on his end, to tie in the outside stuff, simply on the field and in that locker room and what's going on behind the scenes. This is not a surprise. They've been on this for a long time. This was going to happen. And we've thought this from outside as well. We talked about the Dan Patrick report saying Southern Cal's basically on hold because agents who know more than anybody, agents think LSU is going to open and that's a better job. So no coach is going to go right at Southern Cal now until we wait and see what happens with LSU. So now it's happened. This has been coming.
Yeah. According to Sports Betting AG, these are the names of the coaches who have the best odds to become the next head man down on the Bayou. Let me start with the lowest odds and go ahead and cross him off the list. John Gruden at plus 10,000. He's not going to get that job. Urban Meyer at plus 1,400. You can cross him off the list as well. He's not going to get that job either. But the next one is very intriguing to me because he has spent time in Baton Rouge, and look what he's doing at Baylor right now. Dave Aranda at basically a 140 to 1 odds to get this job. I don't know if he's going to put in for it or not, but he should, and he should be considered. This guy's really good, and he knows defense, and he knows this league, and he knows LSU. And, the question with Dave Aranda is, who's he going to hire? You got to be able to score points, and LSU now clearly is a program that wants to score points. They've got Mel Tucker in there at 120 to 1 odds. Guys, look what he's doing up there at Michigan State. I mean, it's something to see. Is he a fit? I don't know. These are just the odds.
He's a Kirby and Nick Saban guy. He's a disciple. I mean, he's an SEC guy.
Doing
awesome.
Be another Saban guy as a head coach in this league, huh? You got Brady at 100 to 1 odds. Joe Brady. James Franklin at plus 950. Bob Stoops, you can go ahead and cross him off the list. He's not going to take that job either at plus 900. I can't understand that. Mark Stoops, you can cross him off too. I don't see any way Mark Stoops leaves Kentucky to go to LSU. We'll get to that in just a minute as to why. Bill O'Brien is an interesting name at plus 850. Obviously is the OC at Alabama right now. Jimbo Fisher at plus 750. And then the three that I figured would be at the top of this list, quite honestly. Billy Napier, Luke Fickell, Lane Kiffin. And I thought Lane Kiffin would probably be numero uno from a betting standpoint. I don't know if he is behind the scenes in Baton Rouge, Darren, but I mean, you have to consider Lane Kiffin. You have to. You don't have any choice. And you have to with Billy Napier. He's in the state. Of course, Billy Napier, he'll turn it down, right? He turns every job down.
Yeah, the Napier thing, I get why he's on that list. I can't see LSU wants to go make a splash. They don't want to bring in the guy over there at Louisiana. That.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you there. I don't know that obviously none of us know this is fact, but
it could happen, but he's not going to be top of the list.
There you go. I think that there are other names that would be much more intriguing to LSU. That is one reason I don't think Mark Stoops would be the guy, even though he beat him bad. The other thing, though, is as Mike Morgan always says, these jobs come open and everybody thinks, well, everybody wants this job, and here's why. Whatever job it is, South Carolina, LSU, Southern Cal, doesn't matter, name it. That's not always the case for a multitude of reasons, but one of those reasons is money. Like, okay, yeah, I can go to LSU and make a bunch of money, but if I'm making the same money here, why do I need to go to a school that's firing a guy 2 years after winning a national championship to make that money and have all that pressure on me? Why? I don't know that you need that, and there's a lot more out there now as far as the financial side of this goes to keep guys from constantly making these type of jumps and maybe making mistakes in their careers. Just pay them where they are.
It depends on what you want. It depends on the individual coach and what type of challenge he's looking for next. Because the resources are all there. The money is absolutely going to be there. But the guys at the top of this list, where they currently are, will at least come close to matching what is going to be offered. This Jimbo Fisher thing is super interesting because Jimbo Fisher can leave and doesn't have to pay Texas A&M a thing. And do you know who hired Jimbo Fisher when he first signed his bazillion-dollar deal? It's the guy who's about to make this hire at LSU. And they're good friends. It's very, very interesting, this Jimbo Fisher thing. That's a massive keep an eye on name.
I think it is, and I think it probably should be. If you're Jimbo, what's the buyout up there? He's got a guaranteed contract at A&M, so there's a major buyout.
I think the re-signing, there's no cost of him to leave if he leaves. That's the article I was reading this morning. It's wild. It's wild. That's why it's so much.
Scott Woodward's at LSU, who used to be at A&M.
Yeah, the guy who hired him there for that big deal, who can now hire him without paying a buyout over here, same guy.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah. Keep an eye on that.
Tyler, does Chadwell get a call, or is this way out of his league? I don't know that he gets a call on this one. I don't think he gets a call in Baton Rouge. I think if there's an opening, Florida State, he probably gets a call. Somewhere in North Carolina, probably gets a call. I don't know that LSU is going to be too interested in Jamie Chadwell. That is literally no offense to Jamie Chadwell. I just don't know that there's going to be that type of interest.
They need a big name hire. They need a Kiffin. They need a Jimbo. I'll throw James Franklin in there. Bill O'Brien is kind of a fit in that. They need a name who is proven at the top. That's what they need. Yeah, they do. James Franklin, keep an eye on it. Certainly. All right, 12:32 Monday afternoon here on the JB and Goldwater Show. We need to hit a timeout, but when we return, Clint, Marcus Satterfield would be a great fit. I bet you you're not the only one that thinks that. Clemson pushing for Tony Elliott as well.
Yeah, careful what you're for there. All right, we got to hit a timeout. When we return, Perry Orth, former quarterback of South Carolina, will break down that final drive for the Gamecocks and that win over Vanderbilt. Talk about Luke Doty and much more right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. Take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need the perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. Sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater show and the Big Gamecock Preview show.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, 12:37 Monday afternoon here on the JB and Goldwater show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases. MotleyRice.com. Perry Orth, former quarterback at South Carolina. He's made plenty of cases around here for Gamecock football. We'll see if he can make 1 or 2 of those today. Joining us now on the phone lines. What's up, brother?
Well, he will make some type of a case when he is joining us on the phone lines. But for the time being, he is not yet on the phone lines.
Oh.
So he may have just picked up.
7, 3, 5.
Yeah, that's not Perry. At least it didn't sound like him.
Sweet Perry right there.
Yeah, no, we'll have him shortly. He knows 12:30 today, so we'll get him in here in just a second. Nathan just commented as well. I'll say this: Saturday, the tweets that I saw from JB and JC, obviously referencing me and JC Sherbert, were the most aggressive I've seen in any sense for a Carolina program, rightfully so. Yeah, look, I what I tweeted out was it's the worst offense I've seen in 30 years, and it's getting worse, not better. I believe that. I think it's been pretty poor all the way around. I mean, early in the year you had a bunch of drops. You didn't really have those this weekend, but that gets better, and you keep making a bunch of mistakes from a penalty standpoint. Once again, some of the play. There's no method to the madness, and that's what I think has bothered me personally the most. You can either call plays or you can't call plays, and it through 7 games doesn't appear that Coach Satterfield's been very comfortable calling plays. So I just thought that based on everything I've seen literally for the last 30 years, I was going back in my mind over every offense I've looked at and watched. 1999 was putrid, but they didn't have any players. They were on their 6th-string quarterback, and it was a debacle. They had nobody. We've seen some guys who I didn't think were very good offensive coordinators. I think looking at this product now, they were much better than what's there at this point in time. So, and Clint Beamer needs to stop going for so many 4th downs too. Yeah, it's a fine line. Do we have Perry now?
I think so.
Perry, you there?
I'm there. Sorry.
There
I got one of them, and had someone on the line, and I kept telling them that I had a call. I kept telling them they would not let go. And
it's all
we're all good now.
It's all good, brother. Clint, I'll lump that into to part of our conversation here with Perry. All right, Perry, let's start with the good. Okay, they won. Right? And a win is a win is a win is a win. It's better than a loss. And you certainly would take a 1-point win over lowly Vanderbilt than a loss against Vanderbilt, because the world would be upside down today had they not come back to do that. But how they came back to do it is the topic of conversation over the last 48 hours, and that's because Zeb Nolan goes in there for Luke Doty in the final drive and throws a touchdown pass to Xavier Legette, and Carolina is able to climb out of the hole. Tell us what you saw in that final drive. What was Vanderbilt doing defensively that allowed Zeb Nolan to get in there and make some critical, I think 5 completions on that final drive to get a touchdown?
Yeah, I think the first most important thing was offensive line gave Zeb plenty of time to throw the ball. He wasn't interfered with even a little bit at any point during that drive. Zeb obviously can sling the football around the field. He had time, but Vanderbilt was playing a very, very soft prevent quarters defense. They kept everything in front of them. But part of the problem was they let Nick Muse open on that kind of out route that he ran, and had 2 clear outs, and he caught it, made a good run, which helped a bunch. And then threw a great ball to carry on down by the down to the 10. And then I guess before that he hit Josh Van on that dig route, right between some defenders and zone coverage. And here's the thing, he had time to throw. He's got a big arm. He trusted his arm, and he made some great throws and seemed to be very confident and got the job done. And there's really nothing much more to it than that. He owned the opportunity, went out there and punked it around, looked good. And, that's why he's getting the nod this weekend.
Perry, why I want to try to learn. I'm going to bring this back around to the A&M game. So I kind of want to get an understanding. A lot of people do this defensively. They're trying to protect the game, and they rush 3, drop 8. Why? I feel like that burns you a lot. Why did Vanderbilt think that would? I mean, I know that you weren't on the headset, as far as I know, with Clark Lee. But in your estimation, why do you think that the Commodores would think that is the best way to approach that final drive against a guy who's coming in cold, hadn't played a snap in almost a month?
Yeah, I don't know. My dad and I used to have conversations about this all the time. Is why are teams playing prevent when what they've been doing the entire game has been working pretty darn well? Mm-hmm. I don't agree with the call, considering all we needed was 3 points to send it into overtime. I mean, with the leg of Parker White, we get to the 35 and it's almost a slam dunk. We get the ball to the 40-yard line, and we've got a shot, for Parker to go ahead and drill one. And you get the ball in the 25, and it's really only a couple decent completions, and you're in field goal range. And especially knowing that Zeb hadn't played and you put the backup in, I'm surprised they didn't try to heat him up a little bit. I don't know. I don't agree with that coaching style and that play calling there, but they must know something that I don't,
Yeah. Well, that's not going to happen this week in College Station. Zeb Nolan has been named the starter for this week. We're going to get to Luke here in just a minute, but we all know Perry. He's not fleet of foot. He's going to need to be protected big time, and Carolina's had trouble protecting pretty much anybody this year up front on the offensive line. But the Aggies they're coming, and after that, Florida, yeah, they're coming too. Missouri's defense is awful, but they're going to do that as well. And then Auburn and Clemson, we know how aggressive the Tigers are, both of them, but particularly the team in the upstate of South Carolina around here. So they're all they know what's on tape. And if Zeb Nolan, is the quarterback at any point in time in any of those games moving forward, teams aren't just going to sit back and rush 3. What gives you some confidence within the game with what we know he can and cannot do, that even though we know that's true, how they're going to play him defensively, what gives you confidence that this offense can maybe find a way around that to get some points on the board? Or is there anything that does give you confidence?
Yeah, well, I think what everybody has said and what we've seen from Zeb is he obviously has a very, very good understanding of the offense, a very good understanding of the playbook. Actually was playing pretty decent football. He had a really solid game one. Week two, they got better as the game went along, had some kind of iffy plays that kind of put us back. And then he got his foot stepped on in the first drive after throwing a dart against Georgia, and that was really the last we saw of him. So, and then he comes in and throws the ball all over Vanderbilt on that last drive. And it's obvious he can throw the football, and he loves pushing it down the field. He's confident doing it. He's got plenty of arm strength to do it. He's not very mobile, so you're going to have to protect him. You're going to have to do some things differently to protect him. All in all, passing the ball, he gives us a better chance to throw it down the field better. I think obviously being 6 years into his career, or 5 years into his career, he's played in some different offenses and learned a lot. And you can tell. So this weekend, I don't expect us to try anything quote unquote different. I just would like to see the ball pressed down the field a little bit more. It was great to see it, thrown to Jaheim Bell. I know Zeb didn't throw it, but that type of vertical passing game, you can find holes in zone coverage when teams are doing it, and it turns into explosive plays, which is what we need. So, obviously in theory, we'd love for the first couple possessions of the game Saturday to be every possession, where you're moving the ball down the field and scoring touchdowns. But, we got to find a way to avoid that kind of that stalemate drive where it almost like we're doing good, then we have a drive where we don't score, and then boom, it's like the wheels come off and we can't get anything going. And obviously we've got to protect the ball better. 4 turnovers against any team, whether it's Vanderbilt or Alabama, your chances of winning are going way, way down. So we just, again, have to continue to take the steps of getting better, learn from the film, and move on.
Perry Orth, former quarterback at South Carolina. All right, so let's talk about Luke. Got off to a good start, seemed pretty scripted, Perry. I think at least in that first drive. Second drive, you mentioned the bomb that he threw to Jaheim Bell. I personally have been fairly critical of Marcus Satterfield. I think he's been underwhelming at best thus far this year as an OC. That's me saying that, not you. In saying that, it's always appropriate to give credit where credit is due. That was a beautiful play call. It was a hell of a throw by Luke. It was a perfect throw. We'll get to the rest of the game here in just a minute. But I want to talk about that play. It actually reminded me of a couple of plays in Steve Spurrier's offense. Nick Muse was able to take a safety out of it. Bell got a one-on-one, and he was down the field, and you just got to hit him. And they hit him, and he ran to the end zone. What did you see in that play? That was the most explosive play of the season for Carolina's offense.
Well, yeah, all it was the 4 verticals concept, and you're just playing off that free safety. Yeah. The goal is to try to have one of the guys, preferably the route that Nick Muse ran, to attract the safety's attention so he runs to cover him, right? Then next thing you know, right, kind of just almost following about 3 yards behind him, is you got someone running right down the hash, filling the void of which the defense just left you. Luke threw it on time. He anticipated it. He threw it as soon as Jaheim was passing the second level, hit him in stride, and that's what happens. And the guy makes a good catch, takes off, stiff arm, runs it in for a touchdown, and there you go. That's what we've talked about for the last 4 weeks, Jamie. As I kept saying, we need explosive plays.
Yeah.
We're halfway through the first quarter, finishing the first quarter, and it's 14-0, and I'm sitting here thinking like, wow, this is how you draw it up. You have one long sustained drive and then an explosive play, and you got quick 14 points, and here you go, you're back at it. And and getting ready to kind of step on their throat a little bit. Obviously, in hindsight, we would have loved to have made a field goal, but I like the the aggressive play calling of going for the sticks on fourth down. You don't really have a ton to lose. You have confidence in your defense, and I don't like that play call on fourth down. I like the concept of it, but I don't know if we want to point the blame on the players or the coaches, but if it's 4th and 3, you can't run a 2-yard route. I think that goes without saying. And unfortunately, that's kind of what happened. And same conversation I had with a kid Friday night. It was 4th down and 4th and 3 or 4th and 4, and I said, "Listen, man, you got to run a 5-yard route here. You can't run your normal, 3 steps and turn around. Like, you got to take that extra step because it does us no good if you get tackled here for a 3-yard gain." And so those things like that, I know that the kids should know that. I know the coaches are teaching them that. It just didn't get done.
Yep. So Perry, all right, there's a lot to unpack there, and I mentioned this last week about Coach Beamer. He's gone for multiple 4th downs this year. Obviously, the ones that are going to stand out when you have these conversations, generally, unless it's like a game-changing play that everybody's going to remember, the ones that are going to stand out are the ones that didn't work. And you go back to the Kentucky game, and there's a couple that didn't work. You had the one this weekend, 4th and 4. It didn't work. 2 of those balls thrown short of the sticks. One of them was, I think, to carry on, and the other one this weekend to Xavier Legette, I believe it was. So to your point, yeah, like, if you only have one down to get so many yards, you kind of need to get to that yard marker. Don't pull up short of it. That's one side. But I want to talk about Coach Beamer, because I think that there is a fine line in having this conversation. Some people call some of these decisions dumb or stupid or whatever you want to say. And then, which I think coaches certainly understand that they're going to be criticized for decisions like these when they don't work. At the same time, as a first-year head coach, Perry, on the other side of that fine line is defining who you are and understanding certain things, kind of growing into your job as a head football coach. And I think that what Shane Beamer has shown us through 7 games is, more times than not, this football team is going to be aggressive. But are they good enough to be aggressive and not take the points in some of those situations? I mean, you would have had a 2-touchdown lead on Vandy this weekend had you just kicked the field goal with Parker White and made it, of course. So, how do you kind of break that down? How do you kind of summarize a lot of these decisions that Coach Beamer has made as to and maybe comparing that with his growth as a head coach, if that kind of makes sense?
Yeah, it's funny because for me, I actually liked the call. I liked going for it. And unfortunately, we haven't gotten a ton of them. I really do like it because, Parker could easily miss the field goal. He did later in the game. Yes, you're statistically and analytically, it makes more sense to go ahead and kick the field goal because you got a good kicker and he'll make it, give you 3 points, make it 3 possessions. Man, the kind of momentum that what that does for a team, saying the coach is basically saying, "Hey guys, I believe in you. Go get me the first down." You get the first down, you go up 21-0. It's almost like you're putting a nail in the coffin. Anytime you make a game, there's a fine line. It's really interesting, actually. The more I watch football, there's a fine line of the confidence being ruined when you go down by 3 possessions and when you don't. There's just something about the attitude when you're down by 3 scores, 3 touchdowns preferably, where you just kind of think like, man, are we really going to be able to score 3 times and then not be able to score again the rest of the game? And it's kind of like a head game a little bit. I like the call. I like the aggressiveness of Coach Beamer. I know everybody would have loved to take the point, take the field goal, and it's easy. But, man, I tell you, sooner or later, ball's going to fall our way. We're going to get one of those first downs. The next play we're going to do is we're going to score a touchdown. And now, he's the hero. It's just when you don't, it's part of the game. When you go for it on fourth down and you don't make it, you're like, what an idiot. Why wouldn't you punt or kick the field goal? But then when you go for it and you make it, you're the hero. What a great call. Guy has confidence in his team, and the players, went out next. It just, it's a lot easier when it goes your way. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, certainly. And let's all remember something. Shane Beamer ain't the only coach that's going for fourth downs. I mean, look, Lane Kiffin, although they blew the call, Tennessee should have had a touchdown on that play. But, Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss offense going for it from the 50, clearly that could be a turning point in the game if you don't get it, which they didn't. The question, though, that I think, Perry, is a fair question from fans is, are we good enough to do that? Like, we have a tough enough time, running for 3 or 4 yards or completing this play or that play or whatever. Our play calling is questionable sometimes. Like, is this team good enough to be able to convert those type of downs, or do they just need to take the points when they can get the points off the leg of one of the best kickers in the league? And I don't really know if there's an answer to that question, but I do think that it is a fair question when it's asked.
Yeah, I can tell you from a coach's standpoint, if I was the head coach and I was in Coach Beamer's shoes, I'm going for it. Anytime I'm on our side of the field and it's under 5 yards, I'm going for it. And the reason I'm doing that is because he gets that he doesn't have a team full of unbelievably explosive offensive players. So he has to, manufacture explosiveness or excitement or do whatever he can. And then ultimately too, in his first year, he doesn't, as a coach, you care. Yes, you care about the fans, you care about their perspective and all that good stuff. But you're more focused and worried about what your players and your other coaches and your recruits that are in the stands, what do they think about you? Are you just going to, anytime it's semi-close, you kind of play the conservative card, or are you going to say, you know what, let's go for it on fourth down. I believe in my guys to go and get it. And you never know. That might be the difference of getting, a top-level recruit or not, or confidence down the road. I mean, we still have 5 games left. What if, this comes up this weekend and that play happens and we go and score a touchdown after a fourth down conversion to go and beat Texas A&M or beat Florida or some team we're not supposed to.
Yeah. And,
we beat Missouri and we're rolling into Clemson at 6-5 with a chance to go 7-5 and beating Clemson because they're not very good either. So it is a very touchy topic. Are we as explosive as Ole Miss offense? No, we're not. But at the same time, you can get a lot more out of your players when they're confident and they believe that the coach believes in them too. So that's kind of where I'm at, especially now in the role that I'm in coaching.
All right, final one here, Perry. Obviously, Luke ended up struggling throughout the majority of the game after he got off to a really good start, and they say that he's still dealing with some foot stuff, and that's why Zeb has already been named the starter. What did you see from him as the game went on? He had a couple of tough picks. Put yourself in that headspace and in that moment, and describe to us what Luke Doty is going through out there. He had some really good stuff, and then he had some poorer moments as well. Kind of walk us through where he is.
Well, yeah, I think it's tough. It's a difficult thing when you come out and you're playing well, and then all of a sudden they hit the brakes and you kind of get stuck, and you feel like you almost can't even get out of your own way. And the next thing you know, your confidence is down, and every time you throw the ball, there looks like there's 14 guys out on the defense. Trust me, I've been there. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he is still banged up, and he has been playing on a hurt foot, and he wasn't playing to the level of what he's capable of. And they needed to make a change. I put this out on Twitter on Saturday night. One of the couple takeaways I had from the game was just seeing the excitement that Luke had for Zeb, and that's not show that one, that's kind of kid that Luke is, and two, that's kind of program that Coach Beamer is building here. It's one that people that you might be competing for the same spot and the attention and the glory, but you want to win. You want your brother to have the same success as you do. we're going to see that pay off. It may not be quote unquote this year, but you will see be a better football team because of the way these kids care about one another. Because they, people always say, I don't care about the lovey-dovey crap, just go win football. Well, that's part of it. When you play hard for your brother, you're going to play better. You're going to, there's always, you always do more and you play harder when you're playing for other people than yourself. And that's just the fact of life. And that's going to help bring kids, wanting kids to come play football here. The whole aura of everything about that, that little scene of Luke celebrating with Zeb it's going to pay off for our program. I can guarantee you. It's not going to hurt us. I can also guarantee that too. So, praying that Luke gets healthy and gets back to 100%. Hopefully it can be this year, and if not, then hopefully he gets healed up and geared up for whenever his time comes again.
Yeah, well, I think you said perfectly, and we'll leave it with this. I actually believe that they're going to need, if they want to get to a bowl eligibility this year, they're going to need both these guys. So the fan base should be pulling for Luke Doty and Zeb Nolan to go in and perform very well whenever their number is called. It'll be Zeb first coming up this weekend in College Station, which, by the way, is the site of one of the longest runs by distance and by time it took to get that distance in Gamecock quarterback history, ran by this guy, Perry Orth, 66 yards in 3 minutes and 42 seconds.
Wow. Wow. You guys act like I was slow or something. What's going on here?
Perry, there was a time I thought I was a good baseball player, and I went to a scouting camp at Virginia Tech, and the first time I ran up the line, they said, so you're going to take the piano off your back or not? And that's when I realized I might not go play D1 as a middle infielder.
Hey, J.C. Sherbert says that run of yours when y'all were in College Station, which y'all had a great chance to win that game, he said he looked down, took a bite of a chip, looked up, you're still running, looked down, took a bite of another chip, looked up, you're still running, looked down, his phone rang, he answered it, looked up, you were still running. 66 yards later, it was a first down. So, well, Perry, thank you, man. That's great stuff. That's why we have you around here. You can explain it better than we can. You're a total pro. QB1athletics.com. If you want to be trained by literally the best quarterbacks coach in this state, Perry Orth, former quarterback at South Carolina, we're always glad to have him on our show and on our side, QB1athletics.com. Hey, man, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and I hope we have something great to talk about next Monday.
No doubt. Appreciate it. Go Gamecock.
Yes, sir. There you go. Perry Orth. All right, 2 minutes past due. Got to hit a timeout when we return. Wes Mitchell will jump in as well. In addition to South Carolina, we'll probably bounce around the SEC a little bit with Wes. We've got Gene Sapakoff coming too, so it's going to be a jam-packed final hour right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glades, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit StonoFerryGolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. StonoFerryGolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
Sorry, I'm reading Gamecock Central, Darren. Need to put some notes down that we can claim as our own information later on this week. Just write that down. Oh, I'm just kidding. Welcome back to JB Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice, motleyrice.com, jbandgoldwatershow.com. Make sure you downloaded our app as well. And you can always chime in on the Share Healthcare chat lines, which have exploded today with some very good stuff, some misinformation, no shocker there, and more. JB, Darren, and Wes Mitchell joining us from an interstate near you at 107 on a gorgeous Monday afternoon. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up? And just for the record, the vehicle is not moving, so I'm not breaking all that would probably be breaking a lot of laws to be doing a StreamYard from I-77. So we are stopped. I've been running around. I did not have time to get back into the office and get back hooked up. So we are doing it from the car.
Oh, well, all right.
Looks good, though. I mean, it's well lit and everything, so it's okay. It works.
Got this natural light hitting me, you know?
Yeah.
You're drinking in your car, Wes?
No.
What? He said the natural light. Oh, no, beer, Jamie.
Yeah,
natural light is not allowed by anyone who comes on this show. That's not a beverage.
Speaking of Nats, how are the Nationals doing? What time are they playing this week?
Yeah, hey.
Segue. Okay.
You think Scherzer wishes he was still with Washington after giving up that home run to Jock Peterson?
Oh, man. Jocktober is here, my friends.
Holy moly.
Did y'all see the video of the Braves leaving Truist today? Like, they did a big fan send-off. And Jock he looked like the most hungover guy in Atlanta.
He might be.
And he may be.
Dude, I would have started drinking after that ball left the bat. That ball, had there not been a stadium in the way, that would have gone west. I mean, that ball was scorched. I haven't seen a ball hit like that in a long time. There just happened to be brick and mortar that stopped it from going any further. He crushed that thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised it stopped it. Honestly, that had to be the longest home run of this postseason.
Oh yeah. I don't care what the stats say. That's just remarkable. Well, the stats also say that Carolina won this weekend, Wes. 1 point against the Vanderbilt Commodores. You know, we just talked to Perry, and I'm going to do this the same way with you. You have to start with the good, because if you don't, you know, Let's just leave that there. It's probably not good for anybody's health. They did win the game. It's better than losing against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's not good. We all know that. But Carolina did win the game, and of course, Zeb Nolan. The story at the end is still remarkable. But now they're 4-3, and they got to go to College Station. So this is a much more complicated answer than it is question. Evaluate the Gamecocks. Where are they today versus where they were at this time last week?
Oh, good grief. Yeah, I'll start where you said, man, they won the game. You got to start there. Beamer said, I'll never apologize for winning. I think you agree with that mindset, right? Like you never apologize for winning, no matter how ugly it is or what it looks like. Amazing story, clearly, was Zeb Nolan, leading the comeback there. Good grief, man. How just calm and cool is this guy to step in the way he did? When he completed that ball to Nick Muse, you could sort of feel the energy just shift. After he threw that ball, I looked at my girlfriend who I was at the game with. I was like, South Carolina's about to go win this game. Like, just you could feel the energy shift at that point. And man, Zeb did the thing. Now, obviously, if you're South Carolina, you never wanted it to get to that point, man. I almost really had to eat some words because there were people doing the usual back and forth on the Gamecock Central message boards leading into the game. Some people being positive, some people being negative. And, I was like, guys, South Carolina, this was last week before the game. I was like, South Carolina is not going to lose to Vanderbilt. I was like, it's not happening. And then even as the game is going on, I just kept expecting that play to come where Carolina puts them away, and it was they scored the 2 quick early touchdowns. You're like, wow, that's as crisp as I've seen the offense. They're getting some explosive plays, and the entire third quarter, I was like, they're going to put them away. They're going to put them away, and then you just watch the game sort of creep along, and that clock is getting smaller and smaller. Vandy then takes the lead, and you're like, well, South Carolina's going to answer. And just the negative plays, I mean, it's sort of that's been the story for me, y'all. It's the penalties, the fumbles. I mean, how many promising drives can be just wiped out by a holding call or a fumble, and just this team is not good enough right now to sort of have those self-inflicted issues.
They're having them every week. I mean, I asked that question, and I asked that question just a minute ago to see what your response would be, because not trying to trick you, this has nothing to do with that. They're having the same problems every week, Wes. Like every week, more penalties, more, like play calling is what it is at this point in time. It is what it is. Like, to credit to Marcus Satterfield, he dialed a couple really good ones up this weekend, and then there was some more like, the turnovers, those aren't going away. I mean, they're still there. I guess my question for the program, and maybe this is something you're digging into, is what are they doing to stop this? Because you can't get away with this in any game left on the schedule. You're going to get blown out. It's going to happen. It already happened. You're going to get blown out in every game left on the schedule if you don't eliminate these type of mistakes, these crazy issues that you have those in week 1, week 2, week 3 sometimes. Good football teams, decent football teams, respectable football teams do not have them in week 7, 8, and beyond.
Well, for one, I feel like we are running out of things to say about it.
Yeah, I agree.
I obviously I knew we were going to talk about the offense, and before you even asked the question, I was sitting here thinking to myself, what do I even say? What do you say at this point? What do you say that makes for a good discussion? Because you're going to end up repeating the same stuff that we've been saying, for the entire season. At some point, y'all, you kind of are what you are. I mean, they obviously they are doing things to try to correct it in practice from a standpoint of emphasizing things. But to me, it's not even so much necessarily the play calling from a sense of like should this play have worked or not worked? To me, it's more just about where are the issues coming from in execution, because here we are. That was week 7, and it's still just not clicking to where you feel like this offense can operate at a decent percentage. Like I look at football, I look at sports operate at 100% efficiency. A really bad offense is going to operate a low sort of efficiency, and you hope in time that efficiency, that percentage goes up. We're not necessarily seeing that, and I think for my money, I love that Beamer's trying to be aggressive and that he is not he doesn't take this "we want to kick a bunch of field goals" approach, like we saw at the previous staff. However, I feel like the teams that are really good at staying on the field on 4th downs, lots of times are the teams that execute at a pretty high level on offense anyway. So when you go, if let's say I'll take Tennessee because, or Ole Miss, if you get a stop on 3rd down and they line up and it's 4th and 3, the defense is sitting there. The defense is saying, I thought we had a stop, and now we got to stop these dudes one more time. If you're facing an offense that's sort of where I put South Carolina's, it's not executing at a high level, obviously. I feel like the defense is probably saying, hey, we got a chance to get out of this thing with no points. Let's get them off the field. So to me, in order to be what South Carolina wants to be as far as being more aggressive and sort of taking that we want touchdowns instead of field goals approach, you just have to find a way to be more efficient and execute better on offense. I know that's just a wide, like, global level concept. It doesn't really get into the actual reasons why it's happening. But I think it, again, goes back to this idea of, are you internally doing too much on offense? When I just look at the defense and this idea of, hey, they brought in a new scheme. It's aggressive, but it's pretty simple for the players to learn.
Yep.
And those guys play hard. They play fast. Hey, is there going to be a missed tackle here or there? Are they going to make a mistake here or there? Absolutely. But are they doing it at full speed? Are they doing it while knowing where they're supposed to be? Yes, they are. And I'll take that all. If I'm a fan, if I'm a coach, if I'm a media person, I'll take that all day long. I find, even when they give up points, I find trouble finding much fault on this defensive side of the ball, guys, because I feel like they are sort of maximizing what they have over there. You don't really get that sense, obviously, based on the results with what is going on with the offense.
Wes Mitchell, Gamecock Central. I totally agree, Wes, because and this isn't, you're not disparaging the offensive guys or anything like that. It's not like you're calling them out for lack of effort. They're busting their tails. We understand that. But when you watch the defense play, if they have a bad drive, if they have a bad game, if they have a bad quarter or whatever it may be, it's kind of one of those things where, they need to get it cleaned up, but they have an identity. Like we know who they are. Like we know what they're trying to do out there. They've established who they are. They're ball hawks. They're aggressive. And like you said, it's pretty simple. There's no identity on offense, none. And it just continues to be a cluster, of all types of different junk, basically. And you don't ever know who's playing and why they're playing and who deserves to play and why they deserve to play and why they don't deserve to play and all these type of things. And that's just going to be who they are the rest of the year. But now you have to win 2 games somewhere in these final 5 that you're not expected to win. You're not going to be expected to win any of these games, and that includes Missouri, and they're not any good. But they're not going to be expected to go on the road to Columbia, Missouri, and win that game at this point in time, Wes. So based on what we've seen, evaluating the players who have played and those who haven't played, Zeb Nolan's going to start this week. Found out last week there's a red zone package for E.J. Jenkins. They didn't even play, so I don't really understand that. Like, what do you identify as, or who do you identify as the best players for South Carolina? Because they're going to need those guys to actually play really well down the stretch if they want to go bowling in Shane Beamer's first year. And if those are the best players, those are the guys we need to see. Who are the best players?
It's a good question. I thought it was going to be the running backs. It's hard to evaluate them right now. There's been, it's the guys have been banged up. Guys have been coming back from injury at times. Obviously, we know the first 5 games of the year. 4 of the first 5 games of the year, there wasn't any room to operate for the running backs. So hard for me to evaluate those guys. But I think you still shoot. The guy that's on the graphic right now, I thought Z White had a great game on Saturday and sparked the offense. We really haven't seen him the last few games. So I think it's about, answering that question internally. I did the idea of getting the ball to Jaheim Bell more. 2 thumbs up. To me, that guy, I mean, he might be the best player, the best playmaker on your offense in terms of being able to do so many different things. He had the fumble, but that's a young player play. You're trying to make a play. You're trying to get to the end zone. He had just earlier the same game, he had shrugged off of Andy defender and, literally just knocked him 10 yards off of him. So, I appreciate the effort there. It's an effort play. It is what it is. Got to protect the ball, but it is what it is. So I think getting the ball to 0 more is something I'd want to do. EJ saw the ball go his way, I guess, I don't know, once on the catch there, sort of late in the game. He made a nice catch for what was close to a first down. I want to get the ball to EJ more. Actually, guys, I kind of like not just the game-winning catch, but Xavier Legette did some good things filling in for Jalen Brooks. That's a guy I always thought could play a role on this offense. So I don't really know who the best players are, which is that's part of the problem. But we'll see if they can find something.
Exactly.
And I think again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Sometimes you almost just run out of things to kind of say about where the offense is right now.
Wes, I totally agree. And when it's a struggle for me to evaluate a football team after 7 games. And I ask you, I respect you immensely in the work that you do. You're one of the best at it. When I ask you a question, who are the best players? And you can't answer it. And that's not a shot at you. That has nothing to do with you. Like, it's because we don't know. I mean, I agree with you. I think Jaheim Bell is probably one of them. I thought for a while Zaquandre White is good enough to play, and he did get in there this weekend under some unfortunate circumstances with Juju, and then Kevin gets a little banged up, so he gets some more PT. Looked good. I mean, Vanderbilt's not any good. Eastern Illinois wasn't any good, but he had a good game, right? I mean, and he's pretty dangerous with the ball in his hands. I don't know if he's the best running back on the team. He's pretty good though. He's serviceable. He can catch it. He can do special things. But that's my point. It's like, how have they played 28 quarters of football and we don't know who the best players are? I don't know if I've ever seen that. Even in bad seasons, last year was a bad year. We knew who the best players were, Wes. We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means moving forward.
But can't you tell who, at the moment, just based on the coaches are going to play the guys they believe are the best players. So in their eyes, the ones you're seeing out there more often, the ones who are getting touches more often, are the guys who, in their eyes, seeing them every day are better than the ones you're not seeing as often. By the way, totally agree with the Jaheim Bell thing. I think Juju McDowell needs more touches. But if he
was suspended this week.
Yes, I know he wasn't there. But if we don't know, some of it is maybe an over-evaluation coming into the year about the players, because it's not all on the coaches that not a player or many players or players that were expected to have stepped up. That's not all on coaches here, right?
Well, and I don't think anything's ever all on anyone. Like, I think it's
collective.
Again, it's to me, it's percentages. Like, how do you break up whose fault it is? It probably lies on everybody to an extent, and I should have mentioned Josh Vann. I think very clearly the way Josh has played, he's been one of their best players. Give him credit. He has stepped up this year. He's been a little bit banged up. Clint here on your comments made a pretty good point. I mean, it's that discussion, and he used the word disjointed. I kind of like that, Clint. our discussion about who's the best players, I feel like I'm giving a disjointed answer because what we've seen is disjointed as far as
exactly
the direction.
Spot
on. And I think let's not even get it mixed up. I think to me, you have pretty clear direction with Shane Beamer as an overall program at South Carolina right now. Defense, you gotta love their direction. I feel like special teams. Pete Limbo has been awesome.
Unbelievable.
So, I've seen, you see comments, you see fans get frustrated. To me, I don't really see it as a top of the program issue, but do you gotta find a way to fix this offense? If not this year, certainly in a big picture standpoint, absolutely.
Yeah, it's troubling. It's troubling. The good side of what happened this weekend, I personally, I don't think I can recall a game in 3 years that was better for Zach Pickens than this weekend. This was, I personally think, Wes, his best game as a Gamecock. JJ is JJ. He's good every week. You don't need to look at the stat line and how good he is. He impacts every play, and he's going to continue to be really, really good. Aaron Sterling's been really good. I think Jabari Ellis has been pretty good. But hadn't it felt for a while, Wes, like, man, there's got to be an extra gear in there from Zach Pickens somewhere. And maybe he shifted into it this weekend. If he did, what do you think that means moving forward?
Well, it means he could play his way into being an NFL guy very, very quickly because he's always had the juice for it. I think we've seen, man, I thought we saw flashes of it. Guys, I'll go all the way back to that Tennessee game last year, opening the year. There's been times where Zach just dominates the guy in front of him. And, Zach's always had it in him. I think we like all of us collectively are, we always want it to happen really fast. I think we also got to remember, talking to Preston Thorne and Langston Moore and some of those guys last week, they reminded me, hey, Zach was an edge guy in high school. So, there is a little bit of a process there between going from being the edge guy, being faster and bigger than everybody to, he's being asked to play basically the one technique this year, which is the far most interior lineman. Sometimes you're doing exactly what you're supposed to do, and it's not resulting even in the big play. So I think Zach has had really a pretty solid year all the way around. And then we did, though, I like that the next gear, we saw that on Saturday, and that was great to see, man. That Vandy kid, that quarterback, right, he gave them a chance because if you had a non-mobile quarterback in there, I don't know if Vandy scores a point because the defensive line, for my money, was in the backfield pretty much the entire day. And he was fast. He ran away from Birch one play, and Birch just barely couldn't get to him. Enigbare, man, I don't know if people even talk about Enigbare enough. This dude just consistently has been in the backfield this year, and I think is playing his way into being sort of that first-round projection some people put on him prior to the year. And, man, I also don't think Mike Peterson gets enough love for what he does on the staff, man. He develops edge guys. And I'll go all the way back to Darius English, who did basically nothing in his first 3 years at South Carolina. And Mike P, going into that year, stood on the table and said, Darius English can help this football team. I can get him where he needs to be. And he had his best year as a Gamecock. I go back to that all the way through what we've seen with the other guys he's coached. Mike P, I'm just a big fan of the work he does, man. I'm a big fan of Enigbare as well.
Wes, I had it on pretty good authority not long after Coach Beamer was hired at South Carolina. Coach Muschamp told him, you need to keep Mike Peterson on staff. And he gladly did so. Mike Peterson is an exceptional football coach who, from what I also understand, loves Columbia, South Carolina. So I'm sure that the Wolves are at the door from time to time to try to hire him away. He's really good. It does. All right, Wes, we got A&M coming up. Carolina hasn't beaten them since ever. So and right now we don't have a lot of. Sorry, but I mean,
sweet. How's things going?
You just got to drink a lot and laugh these days. By the way, I sat with your new brethren, Mike. He sat with me for part of the game this weekend. It was nice to see the new addition to Gamecock Central up there promoting his Bojangles brand. Everybody handing out free samples. I'm just kidding. I said, Mike, people are trying to watch the game. Sit down. Nobody wants your damn pimento cheese.
He was throwing
biscuits.
Sandwiches at people, wasn't he?
I said, dude, just sit down.
If he wasn't, why wasn't he? Because that should be what he was doing at the game.
He was up there. I think I saw him up there with. I thought I saw Chris, but I was kind of down a little bit below. Anyways, my point is, they got A&M coming up this weekend. As I mentioned, I don't have a lot of confidence that they can go win the game. But what's important to South Carolina to have at least a fourth quarter football game that'll give them a chance?
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. I think I think South Carolina is actually the same underdog to them that Vanderbilt was to South Carolina coming in. So,
don't say anymore. Good enough for me.
I mean, if A&M has 10 penalties and turns the ball over 4 times, there's your scenario.
Okay.
I don't know what else.
Well,
Now, in all seriousness, it's going to be hard, right? It's not a good matchup for South Carolina. A&M, when they lost their quarterback to start the year, they really struggled on offense. But as we've seen, it started clicking. You build a ton of confidence, obviously, from beating a team like Alabama. And Jimbo has them playing really well. You're at A&M. You're on the road. It's nighttime. I don't know, guys. We'll see. On paper, not a good matchup. South Carolina, until last year, had managed to actually hang with A&M in a lot of these games. Couldn't put them away, but had been able to hang. We'll see. Obviously, going back to last year, A&M just destroyed South Carolina. So I think what do you want to see this week? To me, can you show progress from last year when A&M just came in and South Carolina? That was the beginning of the end of the Muschamp era. Was that South Carolina not only got beat in that game, y'all, but just looked like they didn't want to be on the field. And to everyone's credit, no matter what has happened this year, there has never been a quit in this team under Shane Beamer. So I think you want to see them go down there and fight it out and see if they can't make this. Maybe A&M does make a couple of mistakes, let you stay in the game, and you have a chance to go pull an upset.
It's going to be a great challenge. There's no question about that. Zeb Nolan will get the first call at QB for Carolina, and here come the Aggies. They're going to attack him. Let's see how South Carolina can counter that. Calzada struggled a little bit this weekend against Missouri, but the running game was really good, and Isaiah Spiller and company are going to be a handful for the Gamecocks down there in College Station. Have a wonderful week, Wes. You got a lot going on here with all these lunch visits, and you got your GC Live coming up. You got a hair appointment this afternoon. I will say this. I discovered on Saturday, I don't know in your time in covering recruiting and things like that, Darius Rush, his family is now, they park next to my family. And I just have to see. Unbelievable. I don't know if I've ever met a group of people that I was more pleased to speak with than his family. His mom, his uncle, his brothers. I just want to make sure I said that. I didn't know if you met them or not. They're the kindest people from beautiful Kingstree, South Carolina. So shout out to the Rush family. Awesome people.
Yeah, shout out. Great people. And his mom is actually in education. So I know that was Teacher Appreciation Day at the game. His mom, I think she's a principal. She used to be a teacher. I think now she's a principal. But shout out, yeah. Am I back?
You had frozen up there.
You're like the Gamecock offense. Just
great people was my point. And his mom is an educator. Definitely shout out to the Rushes.
Yeah, no question. Tremendous people. Wes, thanks, brother. Have a wonderful week.
Thanks, guys. You have a good one.
Yes, sir. There you go. Wes Mitchell. All right, timeout. When we return, Gene Sapakoff right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need the perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
You listen to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
All right, final 25 minutes here on this Monday afternoon, the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. It is Power Hour, Wando Power Equipment to rent literally anything that you've ever dreamed that you could possibly rent for the outdoors. Literally anything in the world, they have it. Just head to wandopower.com. This guy's written about everything that you could possibly write about, at least as it pertains to sports. Gene Sapakoff, 7-time South Carolina Sports Writer of the Year with the Post and Courier. Hey, man, how are you?
I'm great because I've just realized that in this great month in which there's a tremendous mix of not just fall colors, but of baseball and football, that there are bowl games this year, not just at Yankee Stadium, the Pinstripe Bowl, but the inaugural Fenway Bowl in Fenway Park, which has an ACC tie. So if Clemson could get into one of those games, if they could play mediocre enough to get into one of those games, that would be kind of like the perfect baseball football mix for me.
That would be cool.
That would be awesome. Yeah. Gene, have you ever been to Fenway?
I have, and that's a great experience. It's definitely one of my favorite ballparks.
It's the very top of my bucket list. I've hinted at my wife for 4 years. She has not gotten the hint. Maybe she will in 2022. We'll see here. Well, so you mentioned Clemson, Gene. In order to get into a bowl game, you have to win 6. And right now they're on 4. They did win Friday night at Syracuse. It wasn't pretty, but they won. It wasn't pretty against Boston College, but they won. They have combined 36 points in those last 2 wins. And offensively, it continues to be mystifying for the Tigers. Now they got to go to Pittsburgh, Gene, and I can't really remember. You know, they had Georgia to start the season. That was a toss-up game in the eyes of so many. We had not seen Clemson this poorly yet on offense. I can't remember the last season that we were 6 games in, and I'm looking at the Tigers' next opponent going, oh, man, Clemson, they might not only lose, they might get beat pretty bad by somebody. It's been a while, and that could happen at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's probably been since 2010 that there was this kind of mediocrity, and it is, well, like you said, mystifying. Maybe it's puzzling, but you know what? Really, it isn't. They've been very consistent all year. This is who they are on offense. That's how it is.
True.
They're not going to blow anybody out on the rest of the schedule except UConn, and that's just how it's going to be. Pittsburgh, really good. Kenny Pickett, I think, is one of the most underrated quarterbacks. He's going to play in the NFL, maybe not be a starter, but he's going to play. 21 touchdown passes, 1 interception, and I think Pittsburgh can probably move the ball better than Boston College or Syracuse or Georgia Tech. So, you know, the question is, can Clemson score some points? And I mean, 6 games in, a whole half a season, the answer appears to be no.
Yep. DJ Uiagalelei, you know, we can ask the question all we want. Hey, Coach, how much pressure is on DJ? You know what type of answers you're going to get. But, Gene, you've been doing this a while, all right? I mean, you're not stupid. He's coming in on the heels of Trevor Lawrence, on the heels of Kelly Bryant, on the heels of Deshaun Watson, all these points. You know, he has all these accolades. He's on a Heisman list. He's the college spokesman, basically, for Dr. Pepper. Might be Dr. Perky now if he's been demoted at this point. I mean, there was a lot lying on this kid's shoulders based on like 2 performances in his career. Not that he's not an excellent athlete or anything like that, but now that we're 6 games in and we've seen, and it's not all his fault. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It's not all his fault, but he hasn't been special like we thought he was going to be. Do you think that not only did he feel the pressure coming into the year, but now he's feeling it even more?
I think he's actually done okay with pressure as far as mentally. I think that definitely was the case against Georgia and maybe the first couple of games. I think his head, his heart, his soul, his arms, his legs are all in the right place. The problem is his feet. The footwork remains a mess, as you can see and ask some of the quarterbacks that you guys talk to. But I mean, he does not move those feet. He throws out ahead of his feet like a skier leaning ahead on their skis, and he just needs a mechanical breakdown and rebuild in the off season. You just can't do that between games. Having said all that, I still think he can be good. It just might not be this season, and it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds for DJ Uiagalelei.
Gene, I said this earlier in the show that as similar and paralleled the storylines are between South Carolina and Clemson with the offensive line and the play calling questions and just the inability to score and be consistent at all offensively, the one thing that strikes me differently is that when I watch Clemson, and yeah, they got guys down all over the place, that footwork you just mentioned for DJ, the lack of progress for DJ is holding them back more than anything in particular player-wise is holding back South Carolina. Do you agree?
Probably so, if you just go position by position. And, I mean, the next question is, what do you do about that? I can tell you he's the best answer they have, and by far. I just don't think they have an ACC quarterback on the roster right now besides him. I mean, you could try to, pick somebody out. Will Taylor, if he wasn't injured, could be an example of somebody that maybe could run the Wildcat or something like that. And they might have liked to try a change up with that with Taylor, and maybe they still will if he can get healthy. But yeah, the only thing is, like Jamie was saying, he's hardly their only problem. I think offensive line's still the weakest position unit. That tight end room was supposed to be the deepest Clemson's ever had. Dabo bragged about the receivers. There have been some injuries there, but not a tremendous amount. And it just has not come together at running back either. So it's just kind of a mess on offense, and they're just trying to put things together. There's been slight examples of progress, but watching the Syracuse game Friday night, the 2 biggest plays, a great catch by Nagata, great catch by Davis Allen, the tight end. Those were really tremendous, extraordinary catches. DJ's still not putting that ball right like a dime right in there for guys to have yards after the catch, So it's a work in progress, but now the schedule just gets a lot tougher with Pittsburgh and still a road game at Louisville and Wake Forest down the line.
Yeah, and believe it or not, even South Carolina, they can't score either. The final one on with the Tigers, Gene Dabo over the years has shown he'll make a move when he needs to make a move. If he feels like somebody or something is not best for his football program, he'll get rid of it. Do you anticipate? I mean, obviously, we still have to play the season out here. They're halfway through it, so they've still got quite a ways to go. But based on how things are going, do you anticipate changes on staff or just in general with the football program?
Even if they made a change on staff, it wouldn't be a huge thing. I mean, you have an older coach here and there that might bow out and either go to someplace different in the football program, as tight ends coach Danny Pearman went to scouting department in the football program last year, something like that, or retire. The change is obvious. And I wrote about it immediately after the Georgia game and hinted at it in February. 2 words: transfer portal. Clemson is late to the transfer portal. If they had 2 offensive linemen and a backup quarterback, or 2 offensive linemen and a good running back, like Kenny Walker, transferred from Wake Forest, went to Michigan State and is a Heisman candidate. I wonder if he would have been interested, if Clemson would have been interested. Things like that. They're going to be fine next year with from 3 to 7 transfers on offense. That's what I think. And that will be the adjustment that Dabo Swinney makes. And he saw Joe Burrow, a transfer, beat them 2 years ago. Last year, run over by transfers Justin Fields and Trey Sermon playing for Ohio State. This year, first game out of the box, JT Daniels is a transfer from Southern Cal. Darian Kendrick, cornerback, shut down Justin Ross, transfer from, of all places, Clemson. And Clemson has no transfers. What's wrong with this picture? I think they will fix it in the offseason.
Totally agree with that. 146 here on the JB and Goldwater show. Now to South Carolina. They have taken some transfers, and some of them have played quite well. Some of them haven't played. At the end of the day, they're 4-3, 1-point win over Vanderbilt this weekend. Gene, what was your reaction to that?
In Zeb, we trust. Hey, at least we trust him against Vanderbilt. But the good thing about Zeb Dolan coming off the bench and pulling off a victory there with a beautiful 59-second drive that some people saw that didn't leave the stadium is at least it gave Shane Peamer a bullpen option if he didn't already know he had one. And, you know, Zeb Nolan might be the way to go here. And maybe Luke Doty comes off the bench to give him a spark here and there. Overall, I thought they did get more playmakers involved in the same game. I mean, they've had guys here and there, but not all together. So Zaquandre White looked pretty good. They got the ball to Nick Muse right away, got him involved. Jaheim Bell, what a game. And, you know, Marshawn Lloyd, I think that was his best game. I don't know. Harris kind of disappeared in the second half, but that's because White was doing so well. E.J. Jenkins caught a few passes. That was a really huge and underrated catch by DeCarrion Joyner there in that final touchdown drive just before the touchdown. So you just got to get all those guys playing together more consistently with what's been a pretty respectable defense. And then I think they have a chance to beat Missouri and maybe get another game somewhere.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with this. I mean, even though Missouri has struggled mightily, Carolina is not going to be favored in any of their final 5 games, Gene. And you, as Darren always says, or has been saying, you just kind of are who you are now. And right now they are 4-3, and they are 2 wins shy of bowl season. But deeper than that, who do you think South Carolina is, and how does that play out the rest of the year?
They're an okay defensive team that's inconsistent on offense and has to hope to win close, low-scoring games starring Parker White making field goals. That's who they are. That's really not much more than you can ask for in this first year of Shane Beamer. After the game on Saturday, he's not thrown the players he inherited under the bus once this season that I've noticed. But he did say after the game in the Zoom interviews, he talked about recruiting and, you know, we're going to recruit, you know, hard and pointing toward the future. And he's right about that. As far as this team, I think again, the identity, as you said, or as Darren said, and you quoted him correctly, you are who you are at this point.
Yeah, well, you are who you are. College Station is where they'll be at 7:30 Eastern on Saturday night against a team they've never beaten, ever. They've only played them since 2014, but guess what? That they still have never beaten them. All right, Gene, now here come the tough questions. So buckle yourself in, okay? Who are the top 4 teams in college football, regardless of what the rankings say? Right now, the AP says it's Georgia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, and Bama in that order. Who are the top 4 teams in college football?
I'm going to go – the top 4 teams are Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, and Ohio State, with all due respect to Cincinnati, which I think will make the playoff.
I completely agree with you.
So
by the number, I agree.
So both of you think that as it stands today, Cincinnati will be in the playoff?
I see I just don't see how they're not going to be, really. Alabama loss to Texas A&M really kind of changed things, but I think there's an outside chance, if Alabama were just to blow Georgia away and that's Georgia's only loss, I see those 2 teams probably in. And if Ohio State wins convincingly all the way out, and so does Oklahoma, that could make it tough for Cincinnati, because the more games Cincinnati plays now, the schedule strength goes down. And then, maybe Notre Dame loses a few more games, which sort of dilutes the impact of that Cincinnati win there, something like that. But I'd say that they're probably getting in.
I think the other thing about Cincinnati, why I agree that they get in, the fact that Iowa lost diminishes the chances significantly of the Big Ten getting 2 in. So that takes another one out, because that was absolutely a possibility if Iowa is in the Big Ten championship game undefeated.
No doubt about it. Iowa close loss to Ohio State. If that was their only loss, I think they're really looking good, because they have played a pretty darn good schedule. I think Oregon's still alive.
Yep.
just to kind of switch the gears there and look at the ACC, it's almost funny, because you would have just assumed this year coming in the summer that Clemson's at least a very solid candidate. Wake Forest is the best team in the ACC. They're undefeated, and they're the highest ranked ACC team. And I'll tell you what, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Wake Forest, the best ACC team, loses Saturday against Army.
Whoa.
That's going to be a heck of a tough game. I think the point spread's just about 3, something like that. So that's where the ACC is right now.
By the way, those who missed it, Wisconsin barely got by Army this weekend.
And Army played that same game that they played against Oklahoma. They're going to slow it down, and you're going to have to win a close, low-scoring game. Look at the ACC. It's just hilariously pitiful. So you've got Wake in that situation. Pittsburgh, really nice job by Pat Narduzzi and the Panthers. And they got 2 Mount Pleasant Wando kids on the team, the Varzel brothers. They lost to Western Michigan. NC State, what a great story. They're probably going to win the Atlantic Division and go to the ACC championship game. What a great story. They got pounded by Mississippi State, evidently one of the 3 worst SEC teams.
That's a good point. NC State's got to go to Miami this week. Miami's terrible. Look, Wake's 6-0, and they're ranked 16th in the country. So, Gene, is it unlikely or never going to happen that the ACC gets a team in the playoff?
This year, 0 chance. Absolutely no chance.
Not going to happen.
Because no.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
Yeah. Look, everybody's talking about the teams y'all just mentioned, and I agree with you. But what other team is it okay, just keep an eye on? Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, they're all those Big Ten teams are still in this. Nobody's lost 2 or more games. But, who is it? I feel like Michigan all of a sudden has creeped up to number 6, and everybody's like, damn, Michigan's ranked 6th in the country. Wait a second. Oklahoma State's ranked 8th in the country. No one's even paying attention. Who's off the radar that's not being talked about enough?
Well, I think you have to look at Oregon. If they were to run the table, win the Pac-12, they have a win at Ohio State. And if Ohio State, runs the table and wins, that would be pretty darn impressive. And then, I mean, you talked about the Big Ten. I mean, let's look at Michigan State, 7-0, sitting there 7-0, and they're going to get to play Michigan and Ohio State, and that's a pretty interesting team there. I'm sure in East Lansing they'd like to say that they're still in this too.
I think so. I don't know if there's anybody out there that has, for what it would mean, anything remotely close to what Michigan State has left. I'm talking about for what it would mean to be able to get your way into the playoff. Georgia's already there. If Bama wins out, they're already there. But of the 5 that are left for the Spartans, 6th-ranked Michigan at now 25th-ranked Purdue because of the upset this weekend over Iowa. Maryland, who is respectable, they have won 4 games or 4-2, and then they finished the year at Ohio State and Penn State. Yeah, if you win out, you're probably in.
Well, that's that. I've been saying that about the Big Ten East the whole time. Like even when Penn State hadn't lost, it was like, okay, just look at the schedule here. If you handle the business, you're going to be in, because what you just said about the schedule, it's true for Michigan. They're on the same side. It's true for Michigan State. It's true for Ohio State. And it's true for Penn State. It's true that those 4 in the East will figure themselves out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then the divisional winner there is going to get probably like a pretty good Iowa or Minnesota or somebody, one more tough game in the Big Ten championship game.
Yep. Hey, Jordan, game day this week is at Oregon, UCLA. Michigan State is off this weekend, and then they have Michigan coming up next weekend. I would say that's probably a pretty good candidate for a college game day, Michigan State.
Penn State, Ohio State is the same weekend.
Oh, yeah, well, maybe they can meet somewhere neutrally in the middle. All right, final question on college football. Gene, who's the Heisman frontrunner? You're a voter right now. Who's the Heisman frontrunner?
That's tough. I don't know. The Michigan State running back Walker's looking pretty good. I think there's something to be said for Kenny Pickett. But if I had to go, I'm going Matt Corral right now. I mean, that guy has really played well. And I know the Tennessee defense isn't great, but the way he just kind of took control of that with the fearless running. I didn't know he was that good of a runner, but he's just such a good passer. And you can just feel the leadership ooze into that offense when they need to have him make a big play running or passing. So I'm going Corral right now.
Anybody know who the passing yardage leader is in college football? Any guesses?
Does he play in this state?
He plays in the ACC.
Up there.
Plays in the ACC.
Is Hartman's the nation leader in passing?
Sam Hartman or Kenny Pickett?
Nope. It is Brennan Armstrong from Virginia. He's thrown for over 2,800 yards, boys and girls.
There have been some good quarterback play in the ACC. There's no doubt about it. There really has. But, at this second, I like Pickett the best. 21 touchdown passes, 1 interception. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Virginia, by the way, has won 3 in a row.
Evan Leary at NC State has played well too.
Great point. All right, Gene, we're not letting you go anywhere without giving us some of your thoughts on the Braves. It's been magical. We'll see if it can continue in LA, but the last couple of days have been beyond magical over at Truist Park.
I'm not sure what Dodger pitching management is going on there. They've made weirdly, conservative decisions in the first game and then weirdly wacky decisions in game 2. But I think the Braves' first half adversity, when a lot of people wrote them off, and then Anthopoulos, the general manager, made some key acquisitions. It just made the players just come together so much. They're so appreciative, and they have this different sense of drive than you usually see in the second half and at this time in the season. I think that, slumping and being sort of, forgotten about has just given them this resolve that we're seeing now in the playoffs, and it's fun to watch.
Oh, it's amazing for Atlanta. By the way, hey, my stat still stands, Darren.
You're still alive. Yeah.
I told you weeks ago, the last time the Braves won 4 straight divisions, they also won the World Series in 1995. Gene, did you know that?
I did not. That's a great stat.
And there was some weird thing, like last year we had the shortened COVID season. I think the other time there was a strike in that 4 straight. Yeah.
94. Yep. See, Gene, they're going to win the World Series. How are we going to celebrate when they win the World Series?
That's a tough one. I think you're going to probably have to drive to Atlanta through the night and see if you can make it for the parade.
I say we just bring them here for a preseason hot stove banquet down there at the Joe and just bring the whole club.
Yeah, that's good. I'd like to see Acuna and Albies and Riley all there at the hot stove banquet. That would be fun.
They don't need Acuna to win this thing, Gene. They've proven that. Red Sox tonight and the Astros at 8:08, and that one is tied at 1 apiece. All right, what's coming up in the paper this week, Gene?
Well, it's interesting. Pittsburgh has had 3 brothers from the same Mount Pleasant family on their squad. Michael Barzell, who is now an grad assistant at Wofford, but John Barzell and Peter Barzell are receivers on that Pitt team right now. They all played at Wando High, so I'm talking to them. Also, this Pitt Clemson game is interesting because it's a rare trip for Clemson to Pittsburgh, their first trip. And I'm just kind of looking at ACC and SEC schedule rotations and why we don't get more games like that. Like, when was the last time South Carolina played at Alabama? I just think if you go to an SEC school like South Carolina, you should, during your 5 or 6 years, get the experience of playing at Alabama or playing Alabama at all, and it's just, I think they need to tweak these rotations so we see some of these other teams. And it's not about the players and the coaches as much as the fans. I mean, I think they'd like to go to these places or see these teams. And so that's what's coming up at postandcourier.com for me this week.
Thank you for writing that. I totally agree. I remember the last time Carolina was at Alabama, it was in 2009. They need to go to 9 games. They need to play more league games. It'd be tough on the Gamecocks right now because they're really not that good. But you're right. I totally agree. As a big fan of road trips, absolutely. By the way, the Barzell brothers, because I coached one of them, they're not even the best athletes in the family. Their sister was the better athlete than all of them, okay? So make sure you put that in the story.
Yep. Well, that's good. Yeah, Jane played soccer at College Charleston and Charleston Southern. She is really talented, and it just goes to good parenting there with the Barzell.
Good parenting. Yeah, that is a good family. They're really cool. Their dad he's something. He's a character. Gene, thank you so much, man. Great stuff. This is going to be an awesome week to read the Post and Courier with all that stuff coming out. I can't wait. I'll clear my schedule and check for them each and every morning on my Post and Courier app.
Thanks a lot. I sure appreciate that, guys.
You got it. There you go. Gene Sapakoff, Post and Courier. So we didn't get to some things today, like officiating, which has been bad. We do have Josh Pate coming up on Wednesday. Is he before or after JC?
We haven't gotten to that part yet.
I will figure it out.
Wednesday.
It'll be all right. But we will get into some officiating tomorrow. We've got Mike Morgan tomorrow. We're, I believe, scheduled to have Corey McCartney tomorrow with the Atlanta Braves, the hot Atlanta Braves. And, God, I don't know. Keith Allsep tomorrow, Shane Beamer's press conference. It's always busy around here. Just leave us up. We'll be back in less than 24 hours. Thanks to Gene, Perry, and Wes, and Darren, and all of you. We hope you have a marvelous and chilly Monday afternoon. It's time for a fire and a chili dog. How about that? The JV and Goldwater show back tomorrow at noon, and we'll see you then.